realize I can't see my face anymore. This is like super sad. One moment. Back to stream starting. Okay, I think that's good, right? Yeah, good, yes. Okay, mostly good. Like neutral good. Take two. No one saw that earlier, right? That was not at all me being silly. This is in fact normal occurrence. And we are just starting stream. So, good evening, everyone. Yeah, this is totally take one. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to my painting hangout. If you were expecting Crimson to be streaming his games, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I have taken over his slot for this week. Because this weekend, we're going to be running lots and lots of D&D, which means no time to stream. But that means that I can have a bit of fun preparing some miniatures for this weekend and for, you know, just a general use stuff. Because I have like way too many miniatures painted up. Some of which has already been primed, but I've just like not touched it in months, years, sometime. And let's not talk about the stuff that I bought in the past but have not touched, because we don't talk about that. Let's talk about the backlog. So today's stuff is mainly going to be from Ray Victor's miniatures. The mercenaries and kind of thuggish characters. Get that light going and then, ooh, right. So some of the characters that I have previously primed up. This one's actually a partial fill on the bone, but it still looks pretty okay. So I'll be painting him anyway. So those like the thugs and mercenaries. This one is actually a city guard. I don't think it looks very high level. So it could just easily be a corrupt guard or something. Whatever. I also have a miniature that I kind of grabbed from my other stuff. If you have been watching some of the more popular Netflix shows, you might recognize this character. If you play certain popular polished video games, you might also recognize this character. But I'll be using him to represent one of the Dragon Heist NPCs. Man, look at that. Henry Cavill miniature form. So pretty. So, that aside, what I'm going to be focusing on most of the time today is going to be these 4 miniatures. Because I kind of want them done, if not painted to the highest standard, because we've been running a lot of city-based adventures recently, and I realized that having a whole bunch of guards and thugs and whatever is just super useful. Whether they're like human, demi-human, whatever. And just the nice thing about this is that because most of them have their ears and heads covered, if I wanted to paint them as say elves, half orcs or whatever, it would still be okay. Yes, it's Gerard. And you know his daughter Miri. It's the best names. I cannot stand it. And yeah, so you can kind of notice that I have already Xanador primer. It's a little bit of Xanador primer. It's not really bright, which means that if I want to seriously paint it, like that's true OSL, I'm gonna have to paint in the highlights with that myself. That is, as you can imagine, it, a massive pain in the behind, neck, whatever. But I think that because they're gonna be such clean and simple models, having that little bit of lighting is gonna make them a little more interesting. So I'm gonna go for it. YOLO. And jump straight into bright ivory and don't titanium white. I love this color so much. Like everyone needs a bright, super bright, high coverage white in their miniature paint arsenal. Like you think it's a joke, but you don't know the pain of having to paint over something several different times just to get a bright white. Believe me, after a while, you're gonna realize why having a very nice off-white and a white is gonna be super useful. Seriously. Hands down. Like I use it for everything. Let me get out my crappy brushes. Crappy brush number 1, 2, and 3. I put down the bold titanium white on the palette already. I'm just gonna grab some of that and hit the light sources with a layer of the white. Turn down the light. I'm gonna start painting detailed portions so that it doesn't overexpose. See the kind of difference when you have a bright white that's pure immediately, just so useful. And this is gonna come in even more useful later on because I'm just gonna do a fast and easy object source lighting OSL, which means I'm gonna use lots of transparent colors over this so that I don't waste time trying to paint a very nice gradient blend of lights. So having a very bright initial base coat helps. I'm also not really caring if I accidentally put the white onto the other parts of the picture. So it's okay if the frame of the lamp has a little bit of the white as well. We can adjust that later when painting the light color. And we should. Dying brush. Infinite Vital's last will testament everything. Why is my music stopped? Go back music. There we go. Music on demand. So even just like this, you can see the difference already. That just that simple coat of pure white adds. I need a little bit more white in here, I think. And like I said before, you normally only want to use pure white for the brightest light source that you're painting. Or, you know, if we need to mix it into something else for a little bit more coverage, like for yellow, then yeah, pure white is fine. But other than that, I really avoid using pure white on most parts of nature, except for like the final highlights, where you just put the simple and easy white dots. Let's paint up the entirety of this flame, because he's holding a torch. The torches have flames. With pure white. And that's gonna give me a better idea of how I want to approach the rest of the miniature. If I get a little bit of the white onto the body of the torch, onto the wooden portion, that's also okay. Not a big deal. Because this is what we call the sketching stage of the miniature. You don't have to be as precise. So you can kind of see where the white is. Now, I was talking about how we normally only use pure white when we are painting something super bright. But you can also use pure white when you are doing a value sketch, because a value sketch is when you're painting the lights and shadows of a miniature. And most of the time, you're going to go over that with other colors. And that pure white is going to get dimmed down when you put other colors over it. So because I'm too lazy to go and grab more colors for my palette, I'm not going to use that bright ivory yet. I am going to start sketching in some of the reflections, some of the brightness that you're going to get from the torch as it falls into the miniature. And because I've done a Xanadon coat for this really, there is already some hint of that. So what I need to do is kind of just bring out where the brightest points are right now. If this doesn't look good, it's because I'm not good at OSL. I don't do it very often, if at all. And you notice that this pommel of the sword is going to be really strongly lit by the lights. So I want that brightness. I want this option as well to be kind of really super freaking bright. So when I hit these areas as well with the lights, to try and bump up the brightness of just like one side of the miniature. And then when I paint it super lazily later on with a lot of transparent colors, and it will still look like there's a little bit of lighting from the outside. So a bit of that, I'm going to hit the side just a little bit. And what's really useful here is that I'm using the side of my paintbrush to touch the light source, and using that to draw a straight line. It's like the parts of the miniature that have the light touching them. And that will help you see which are the parts that are closest to the lights. And you definitely want to hit this upper part of the fabric as well. So if you just look at it right now, you can kind of see, right, there's really some lighting on the face. And if I might say so, I think it's pretty good. See. You can really see like the sharpness of the light that's being thrown from the torch. OSL is not that scary. Really. It really isn't. Trust me on this. Looking at OSL look good, now that's a different problem, but approaching OSL, it's not bad. Also, why would you focus? Why are you being so mean to me today, Cameron? Good. Why are you focusing on this thing? So, look at the lights. Follow the lights. And everything else kind of just shows up. Just a bit more lighting here, let's see. And to be honest, this style of painting works pretty well, even if you're not doing a very strong light source. You can do it in just a normal miniature as well. Just very roughly sketching in some of the highlights and shadows. Okay, I think we are pretty good for that. Just blend a little bit. So what is the characteristic of firelights? It's warm, and it also doesn't tend to travel very far. So the parts are a little further away, they're gonna get a lot less light. And in order to represent that, I'm gonna shrink the areas that we are highlighting. And I'm gonna just stipple in some of the tiny reflections that you would get. See, like that. And when I airbrush this initially, there's a little bit of stuff. It's a bit of lighting in there. So I'm not gonna care too much about that, let's focus on nature right now. And fire tastes spicy. How would you know? Have you eaten fire recently? Do you make a habit of it? You can see my brush dying. Look at it. Starting to splay. Take care of your brushes, guys. But you know, even if I had to replace this set of brushes, I think it'd be fine. I can just downgrade them to painting unimportant stuff. So that is our first miniature with the lighting sketched in, and I am pretty happy with that effect. From all the angles you look at it, you should be able to tell roughly where the light falls. I don't need perfect high or clean highlights because I can just do that later on when I'm working on the painting the actual color in. So that's the value of a sketch. Value sketch. See what I did there? And this will act as a guide for me when I paint the rest of the miniature. It's gonna be really useful. What do you mean blue? Sketch is very valuable, very useful. So valuable. I'm gonna just dot a little bit of the leftover titanium white. It's a little bit too bright for what we get, really. But it's fine in this case because when I paint the base, it's gonna get toned down a lot. So not worried too much about it looking a bit bright in comparison right now. I am gonna bring up his boots on this side a little more. Okay, we're good. I'm gonna stop here so that I don't overpaint. And we're gonna go back to this other dude who we've been looking at earlier. Use a less beaten up brush. I have brushes that are not beaten up. Probably. That kind I don't use. I'll use my broken tooth size 0 since I don't use this very often and it's quite precise. It's gonna be brightening up all of this areas. More white. All of the white. But yes, if you are a dungeon master, you want stuff that's just really useful. All the encounters, then you definitely want to have some bandits and shots. Like when we first bred miniatures, I decided to paint about 5 or so of them. And those minis have just been incredibly useful the entire time. Adjust this to be a little lower. What? Never mind. Too lazy. And people have mentioned to us that one of the things that they like about our miniatures now to reign is that we have NPCs where actually, you know, have miniatures that are NPCs and not just monsters. I feel like this might be going a little bright, but we will see how that goes in a bit. Paint in. Bit more white. Focus. Camera has not been cooperative. It'll be like this. No better. But now it's hard to see properly. This is also why I should have maybe done a multiple step genital going up to a brighter white. But then I won't show how I sketch in color values. Don't reflect very well, right? Primer should be decent enough. It's like I'm handling a huge meal that needs that. So I'll be handling it. It's not dry. So a little bit up to the right there. I feel like I'm painting in non-metallic metal right now. This is pretty close to what I'm actually doing. Just paint in all the fake light and shadow sketches. So a little bit of white there, not too much, definitely. But let's try and get a lighting down on the face. So you will notice that the lamp is being held under the face. It's wasn't a bit on the edges. So I would definitely have to do a bit of more lighting from the underside of the face, and especially so on the side of his face that is closer to the left. So it's gonna be a little weird, I think. I also need to paint in a little bit of the color. That's gonna be stop so off. No, I need my life, I need black. Where are you, black friend? Sites that don't have quick bit of shadow to light. I think one of the reasons it's not working so well on this particular miniature is that it's not quite as dramatic in my initial shading. So having those black lines in there will help me clearly differentiate the parts. differentiated. On the first set, on the first run of this, oh, I did design at all. I definitely want a little brighter. Lighting goes here. I need to make sure that the letter is bright. That feels more correct. I'm starting to get more of the color that I expected. Definitely bring up the texture here, I think. Probably only on the one side. Note that while I am painting a large area in white, I'm a little more controlled for this because when you're holding a torch and waving it around, you kind of have this sphere of light around it. But the lantern has this base here, so I'm not going to see as much light going straight downwards as I would for the other light sources. And I need to make sure that when I am painting this, I don't go completely overboard with my light sources. So a little overboard is fine, but not too much. Instead, a reminder to hydrate. I hydrate. But first, I must consider. Where the heck did I put my blue tag? I think it can stick with just a small amount of blue tag. Yes, it does. Okay. Drink. Okay, very good. Nothing has started on fire in the meantime, so we can continue painting. If you hear like loud banging noises, it's really just like continue falling asleep in the background. He does that. Shadows a little bit here. But working has never stopped you from falling asleep, has it? I could do see my sleep proceeds to fall asleep. Loud banging noises. When you start trying to slam your mouse. To video night with the mouse pad. Okay, yeah, I think definitely going in with the shadows for this was the right idea. Because one thing about glass lanterns is that they diffuse the light a little bit more compared to torches. even though the light is also more focused. So I'm gonna have to paint in a little bit more of that like black so that you can see the difference between what's lit and what's not lit a lot more easily. And I'm working in black pretty thinly here. I don't need a super nice value sketch icing as I start mixing and blending a little bit earlier than I should. Actually, a very useful color at this point is the transparent black, because I can just blend it out a lot more quickly. A little more of the lighting on the underside of his arm, the inside, where you get a little bit more reflected light, and it tends to be stronger because it's closer to light source. So don't be afraid to paint that a lot more brightly than you don't need. So look at the light, and I'm using the camera to see. It's a lot of light coming out. Brightness. Brightness. And now remember this, even in areas with very bright light, you will see shadows. But the shadows are going to be a little smaller, a little sharper and harsher. The stronger the light, the more intense light source is, the sharper the shadows are. Which is why this area is so bright. So I want to make sure that I correctly portray just how bright the lamp is when it's close to its body. Focus. No one wants to shake the crimson ring. If you fall asleep, you can go to sleep. No one cares. Go sleep, old man. It's not like I need to be awake or anything. Wait, did I put transparent black here or did I put it elsewhere? It's not like that sometimes. I don't know. Whatever. Just gonna take a bit of that coal black that I already have and use that to clean up the outside of the lamp. So the parts that are dark should be really dark. So it's the outside edge where you really won't see much reflected light. You know, this lantern needs to be non-metallic metal. That's what it needs. How do I do this myself? These are just quick and easy city cards, I see. All mercenaries I see. They don't really need that much work. I'm just going to do them quick and easy. And I spent like what, half an hour sketching them in. Quick and easy. Give me like a medium bright warm grey. So I use that as the in-between color. And for the parts that are not super brightly lit, that's fine. That's good. Okay, but seriously, I had like a entire chunk of blue tag that was like right here. Where did it go? Return to me my blue tag. BRB. Has returned. And I have returned for teeny tiny chunk. And it will cover up the quote logo because they are not sponsoring me. And now I'm going to be using the bright warm green as the brightest highlight for the other parts that don't have a light source to them. So that way it's not too jarring. And this CB7 brush has just survived so much abuse. And there's already a little bit of lighting on this. It has been implied, so I just need to bring that up. I'm gonna do a first round of highlights. It's gonna be starting from Steve. Why? Because I feel like it, that's why. Highlights. So this is going to be an example of having a light source in the miniature, on the miniature, that's kind of been painted in, but you don't see the actual object that's emitting the light on the miniature itself. And that's actually really good practice for painting. So I'm just gonna bring up his face a little bit. It looks as though the hood is been hit by a light. A little bit from above as well. Not every artist, not every painter likes doing value sketches or just sketching in detail texture. But it's something I like to do because I'm not trained as an artist, so I have issues visualizing sometimes how the shapes of things should look and how should be highlighted, so on and so forth. And I find that this helps me be a little more consistent with how I should be painting. Also, it's the kind of paint that tends to lose steam the longer you paint. Doing a very nice sketch helps you keep your focus on the important parts of a miniature before you start losing steam. And once you start losing steam, you just go, alright, it's time to casually glaze in some colors and we are done, Zorus. No, we're not actually done. I'm just saying, if we were hypothetically trying to rush this, we could just glaze in some colors. So we do still want a little bit of that color over on the darker side of the miniature, but we're gonna be a little more precise. So just some edge highlights. Just a little bit of light here. A little bit here. This is right. This is the side that's facing. Couple of dots here, so it looks as though it's reflective leather that caught a bit of light. And it looks good that way, right? So you can see where the lighting should be falling. I'm gonna add a bit of lighting to this bait also. This character is clearly a mercenary who is used to sleeping on the road, so because the bait was gonna be interesting to paint up. Add a little bit of highlight there. And this the back is almost completely dark. If you were painting a super strong light source, you might just leave it dark. Or paint it with super desaturated colors. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use that warm gray that I had. I'm gonna mix a little bit of black in. Just get a slightly darker gray. And I'm gonna use that to do highlights here. See? And that means I can still highlight here, but it won't be as bright as on the other side. That's okay. Because I'm not painting this to be viewed from one angle only. So sometimes I need to give up that perfect light, single light source effect and paint in a little bit more detail so that if you look at the miniature from other angles, you can still see stuff. Ambient light exists and is important. So, just highlighting the top of the folds of fabric with that darker gray. It's nice and easy. Highlighting a 10 because I'm doing it over black, and that's pretty forgiving. So there you go. That's how it looks like so far. So, a little bit of highlighting here as well. And the only part that's absolutely no light would be just the underside here. To highlight the sides of the quiver, which are a little annoying to reach, or so as a dungeon master, having access to miniatures that you can paint as either thugs, bandits, or mercenaries is very useful because they can be allies or enemies. Or if you play Frostgrave, for example, this is super useful. Or like Rage's Shadow Deep. Let's put more highlights in. Let's go. And now that it's now that it's darker, you can kind of see it's not as harsh as the areas that have the highlights. I'm gonna go in and darken some spots. Get some slight difference in there. Go over the entire face actually. I feel like the face lost a bit of blending. And generally for the face images, I try to make it a little more interesting. A little more well painted, I suppose. And that is important because if a face is well painted, it really helps elevate the entire miniature. If the face is also a point of focus. A little teeny tiny bit of white, just a teeny tiny bit, and the spot highlight face. Just a spotlight. Go back to doing the warm grey and kind of quickly hit the metallic buckles. Because those are a lot more reflective than the other parts, so they're gonna catch a lot more of the light. Or like the earth. I think that's good enough for now. Any other changes can be made after we are actually done with putting on the color. Okay, now we got you, Mr. Guard. And this is a guard that's pointing at some NPCs or something, or at the party, most likely the party. And I kind of had him get some lighting from above, and I was thinking that I wanted him to look like he's standing under a street lamp. So if I was to be standing under a street lamp, you're gonna have a lot of lighting from just above your head. But I'm not sure how bright I'm gonna go for that, so let's start with a little darker highlights. Let's go with the bright warm gray for that first. And then we can kick it up a notch. So right now I'm highlighting the top of the head because I want to make sure that this is where the lighting falls. It's a little weird at first because you don't normally paint something this brightly unless you're gonna paint it as non-metallic metal. But it'll definitely look a lot better once we get that color painted in, so I'm not super fast. A bit more of this. There's this like leather cap that has a few grooves cut into it, the seam lines essentially. That's where the leather cap is put together. So I try my best to avoid those. Which means I'll be a little bit more precise here and there. So I don't have to go back later and fix it. Getting a little bit of an FPS spike drop there. Light spike. So time to apply highlights to face. I'm still highlighting face normally, which means top down. All over highlights. This guy has the face of someone that's pointing at a bunch of Avengers and going, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Break into stop." And then the Avengers kind of just murder the guy. Because that's what they do. That's what Avengers do. They murder wolves. It's terrible. What a menace to society. Now the guy looks a little ghosty right now. That's what happens when the Avengers kill you and you come back to take revenge. Poor guy. Just want to do his job. Took on an extra midnight shift. Too zealous. check? Is my miniature going off camera? Or are you just reminding me to not destroy my neck or something? Let me take a drink soon. Let me rough in the lighting on the shoulders and upper body of the card first. This is actually sculpted by my friends over at Victor's Miniatures. I think they really do a good job. So some of this lower fantasy stuff where it's something that you can see in both a high fantasy setting and a low fantasy setting where it's, you know, low level combat, because the majority of adventures take place in tier 1 and tier 2. And there are very few adventures that go onto tier 3 and tier 4 at all. This is mainly because most DMs cannot handle high level parties. Or, you know, parties just fall apart before they actually can get to the level required to play tier 3 and tier 4. People just get bored and want to play the next hardcore. Gonna freeze? I think I'm gonna freeze. It's kind of frozen. Yeah, it's frozen on my screen. It's also frozen on... Okay, we back. We back. Back in business, boys. So let me do a little more obviously highlighting. Just start pointing the party like, hold it right there, criminal scum. What are you doing? Now surrender or pay with your life. And a bunch of like bandits walks up and goes, never should have come here. And then you guys are playing Skyrim. With Oblivion voice lines. Oh god. At the upper part of this got highlighted. Everything else can just be glazed on because I am a lazy painter. Have I mentioned that I'm a daisy painter? Because I'm a daisy painter. Just need to rough in some shadows for the maze. It's not a flail because the gun is not yet flailing at life. That comes later. Highlighting on the back. Just to highlight some. I have to really think about it, but this is fun. And unless I really have to rush them on a very tight schedule, I don't see any reason why I should stop and paint them with a little more detail. I'm not gonna go really out of my way to make sure that they have amazingly painted color schemes all the time. I'm gonna spend a lot of time cleaning up the small details in them, like if a little bit of parts that are a little darker than it should be. I'm not gonna spend forever tuning that up, but I'm quite happy to be spending a little more time at this point to add a little more color. Right, so I think it's gonna come from here, so stones here should be a little brighter. If I'm not wrong. This sounds surprisingly Christmassy. Concern. Go in, rough in a shadow. Just gonna have like the shadow of the legs joined together. And I think that should look pretty convincing. Kinda. Oh no, it's a slightly wrong direction. Well. Quite happy with the color that I've graphed out, I guess. Doesn't look too bad. So let this dry. I'm gonna go back to the first one you painted, and that's the one with the very clear objects just like that. And I want to paint it to be a torch light, so that means I need my yellow and my orange. Normally I would paint in yellow. I'll paint in my orange first and do a bit of it yellow wash in some portions. But I am feeling really lazy. I haven't really tried this yet, so let's see if I can figure out where I put my transparent colors. Because I have transparent red, I want a transparent orange, and my transparent yellow. And we're gonna test that against another piece where I'll be using some slightly different colors. Of course, that's if I can find colors. So transparent yellow, here we go, and transparent red. Transparent red is a bit more of a solid crimson tone, so we shouldn't be using much of that, if at all. So it's a bit of transparent. I swear I had it somewhere. Yeah. Versus P3 Inferno Orange, and where are you, my Hearth Fire? Perfect. So this is the colors I want to use. This is Inferno Orange. So this is the colors, right? Versus like this tone and a little bit of this. And we're gonna start with the transparent first. So I'm going to use a slightly bigger brush for this because it might get a little messy in mixing and wet blending, and I don't want to get paint in the ferrule. So, get this in the palettes, a little bit, red, just red, teeny tiny amount to get a little bit what it looks like on there. Transparent yellow. Transparent yellow, of course, being yellow, is already very translucent. That's how translucent it is in there. So it's just very bright neon color. And what we need is to mix a little bit of red in there so that it's not too yellow. The orange tone already. But I'm gonna mix that with more yellow here. Just add more yellow in. The red is definitely a lot stronger than the yellow of this. That's also why I have a teeny bit of transparent white. Just to make the yellow strong. Hello, transparent white, are you open? This is the unopened bottle of transparent white, because of course I would leave it here and not take my other bottle, which is concern. I think my other bottle's over at the airbrush area. I don't really want to go over there and grab it, so what else? I'll just take a little bit of the bright library. Teeny tiny amount. Because I can't control paint very well, it ends up being a larger amount. It's okay. Take that and yellow. So much more yellow. I mean, to be honest, if you're really painting fire, you actually use a lot more orange than anything else. So let's say this new bright yellow. Not quite as perfectly translucent as I would like, because the ivory adds coverage, but I think it's good enough to test. Hey Tashi! Hello, I'm glad you can tune in to us. It's like, I think, just before lunch over there, or about lunchtime in Germany. Okay, so I've added that bright ivory to the transparent yellow from the and I'm gonna take that and apply a glaze. So it's actually a heavy wash all over the area first. And you can tell it's taking effect already. Just all the way here, all the places, all the yellow. And why am I doing this first before I apply the colors? Well, I kind of wanted to see the effect of this before that. Ah, it's 3:40 p.m. Okay, that's quite a comfy time. I gotta say that I am quite liking how the color looks right now. It is super bright. And when glazed just lightly over the spots that I see, should be highlighted. It does quite a convincing yellow effect. But remember that we don't just want yellow here, we want a bit more orange, right? So, a little bit of orange. And let's start from the bottom, because that's actually where most of the color comes from. And I'm not super worried about losing the yellow, because you can always go back later on using the original shading that I did to guide. And remember, this is just me testing how strong the glow effect is with this particular colors. So even if I mess up, I can just fix it when I'm painting in the rest of the actual colors. So let me use that transparent orangey red on the torch flame itself. So anyway, hey Tashi, today we're working on painting some value sketches and environmental lighting effects with some of the mercenaries that I had prepared. And they're just not just fast and easy paint jobs. It's a great time for me to experiment with stuff I don't usually do, like lighting effects. And if you look at this, okay, come on, focus. You can kind of see how it really would work out on an actual like paint job that really had the colors in. And later on when I do the colors, I'm gonna just glaze them in with other stuff. So it's not too bad. And also, I just think it's just really fun. It's like I am pretty new to using this exact colors in this method. It's like my first time doing it. Though I've done it in theory, but that's mainly for painting actual miniatures and not for object source lighting. So I have a pretty good idea of how it's going to look if I did this with an actual piece that I wanted to paint from scratch and just sketch in that value zone. In fact, I think this looks good enough that I can leave it for now. And I'm gonna wait for this to dry, and then I'm gonna glaze on, like, start painting the rest of the miniature. So it's the piece that I can just quickly highlight it. And I'm gonna probably paint him up. So let's pick some colors. We can just do a bit of a red. Blue always works, and green. It seems like the sort of red. And this is also why I love practicing 3D printed miniatures, because I mean, worst case scenario, just print more. It's not that they're gonna go out of production or something. Like, there are some miniatures where I'm super scared to practice on because they are limited edition. Okay, this is not as thin down as it should be. That's okay. It's quickly. Like, this is a base coat. And clean out a little bit. Should. So that little cake is connected to his hood for sure. And here's this little mantle that it attaches to. So let me just make sure to mark that. Here we go. Screen. I guess that if I was going to be using my contrast paints or speed paints, now would be a good time. But I want to show that I can just do this with acrylic. It's not really that difficult, and it's not really some arcane thing to try. Oh, that was close. He survived. I didn't get any random paint on him too. What a boss. Quickly just roughing in that cape. And there's a little bit of fabric draped over the bedroll. So I'm gonna make all of that green. And because I'm essentially just glazing on color now, you can see that there is a stark difference between the part I sketched on highlights earlier and the cape at the back. And that's just an easy and natural highlighting. It's like I don't have to care a lot about how it's going to be turning out because I already know it's just a slightly darker version with color of what I already done. So learn to value sketch, it will save your life when you're trying to work faster. So you don't have to spend all that time to highlight each color individually because you've already done your highlighting. And if you want to, you can still do that. You absolutely can. It's not gonna stop from doing it. It's just faster because you've really underpainted most of your miniature. So I prepared some transparent blue and a little bit of mahogany. I'm gonna use that mahogany, which is Pro Acryl. So it's not the P3 I was using just now. Pro Acryl tends to be a little higher in coverage. I'm using that Pro Acryl to paint his tunic. So that's a mahogany color that's gonna go over. And I've thinned it down so it's just a heavy wash glaze even right now. And I'll apply that over the part I've pre-highlighted. Acting like it's contrast paint. And really see like some decent shading there. Needs a little bit under the arm as well. Yeah, free shading. It's the same as working over a Xanathol highlight. It's just that after you do the Xanathol, you come in and highlight further up using white or an off-white tone, and it gets you a lot closer than lots of people realize. So since that color extends downwards as well, it's show off more of how it works. So I want to paint under his arm as well. And let's say I want to paint him with a slightly darker blue. So it's transparent blue on the palette. It's pretty much untinned. It's a heavy blue right now. That's fine. Wash off the brush. Remove a little bit of that blue. Do it again. Like this is how you approach it if you were painting with oil paints. And it actually works just fine on acrylic as well. So I am removing that color from the surface of the and it works just fine. Look at that. So I remove it, you can see the more the original color showing through. It's gonna need to dry to show off a little better, but you can see that there's natural shading color up there. So just working with naturally transparent paints can get you pretty close to some nice effects. You don't have to use oil paints, you don't have to buy special products or use only special painting techniques. These are doable with just normal acrylics if you know how to apply them, you know what you're doing. So since I've painted the under, I guess the under tunic with that transparent blue, I'm gonna do that for this other part too. I'll be a little more careful here to not go on to other pieces. Apply some to his other sleeve. And now to clean off some of the color with the wet brush. And it's this really nice desaturated blue color. Is it as nice as properly highlighting? Of course not. But that's why I can just take any color, mix it with the blue, and do some easy highlighting later. Or now, for example. I can even do it really messily like this. Like this. There's no need to panic about putting color on things or going back and forth. It's just another method of painting. Easy highlights. I'll probably go ahead and clean this up later, but just messing around with some different colors for once. And because these are NPCs that I don't really care about, most of them, I'm not too fussed about having to clean them up. Okay, so this one can, I guess, just sit there for now. Grab my flesh tone. Where are you, Cadell Flesh Tone? Let me take my 10 flash. It's not even 10 flash tones. It's average flash tone. Not super 10. I guess it's a good shadow if you are gonna paint someone that's really pale skin. Or a good highlight if you paint someone that's very tan skin. So, now make sure that we thin down this 10 flash enough. Okay. And just apply it all over the face. Instead, with a little bit of the flash tool and all over application. Not caring any shading. This is super pinkish ready flash tone. And it's gonna look a little strange until it dries a little darker. See, it's working for us quite well here. You can see the difference in the parts that I've highlighted and that I'm not highlighted. Even though the mahogany is a very dark color, so it tends to kind of mute the highlight, so paint it in a lot more obviously. I forgot to paint the ears just now, so quickly paint in the flash tone. Crazily pink flash tone. Alright, I'm gonna thin down the blues. Quite thin now, and I'm gonna apply that on the uniform color. Added leather armor fabric that they're wearing. This is not wearing really padded armor. The only padding is the stomach. So, well-fed guy. How much more time do we have for everyone today? Well, I guess we can go a little later than usual. Hello, Green Ribbon. Thank you for following. Glad to have you here with us. I think we can get quite a bit closer, I guess. Just let's go until like another 45 minutes maybe. Because I won't be streaming this weekend, which means it's time to play catch up right now, working stuff. And you know, if I finish this, I'll get a lot closer to finishing it. I won't have to touch them for quite a while, which is a huge bonus. So, I tend to paint my guards with blue, I guess, blue uniforms. This is a generic guard paladin color. And that's because I tend to paint a lot of my bandits and thugs with red. So, you know, blue versus red makes for some really easy contrast in the tabletop. even noticed that by default the transparent blue is really dark though, so it wiped out a lot of the shading that we did earlier. And that's also why you shade a lot more brightly. In this case, I just mix a little bit more of the transparent blue in with ivory and quickly wet that a bit. Just a bit. Or I could not care and go to painting other things like I really should be. But where's the fun in that, right? Focus. Focus. I seem to really like focusing on my wet palettes. Okay. Focus on mini and not on palettes. Engage yourself, camera. Good idea to push this in the camera. Either way, just did some super lazy highlights on this. You can tell that blending has not been my priority, and that's because I can just take a transparent blue, go back over and blend it back down. So nice and easy blending. Which is the outside working in transparent colors, right? You can easily fix mistakes by wet blending more. This is why I always tell people learn how to wet blend. Because it will save your life in setting up base coats like this if you want to paint fast. And if you want to use shortcuts like using speed paint, like using contrast paint, these are great. They actually work by being just very transparent colors. So if you learn how to work with transparent colors, whether it's speed paint or contrast, or just acrylic paint that you've learned to thin down in various ways, it's gonna make your painting life a lot easier. It's not relying on a product to give you an effect. You understand that product and how it works, and you can apply that across different brands. So if I were to hand you some paint, a miniature, and some, just a paint brand you're not super familiar with, you could still work with it. And that's just super useful. It might take you a little while, but you can still get it reasonable. So let's get him some red pens. Why? I mean, got you wear red pens, right? So that look a little more interesting. And I did not realize this, but the armor that's wearing his leg armor, and the attachment makes it look like he has a very nice garter belt. And I'm all for this. Looks good. Keep it up, dude. Nice garter belt. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Got a belt until you got armor by all means. just call it a fancy name and all the wax. Translucent mahogany again, and applying that over the other one that's held up by the garter belt. You'll also notice that by just having a darker base and just highlighting up and then adding the mid-tone, you get results a lot faster. This is a much faster way to paint. It's really more in line with how people expect me using contrast and speed paints. Only done in perfectly normal paints. Clean up a little bit of the color on the front there. Back in. Wait a little bit. Up the red spot onto the brown. Tiny bit. Just paint in some, using the mahogany, paint in some shadows on that face. It should now be mostly dry. So now is a good time to apply translucent mahogany as a wash. And get a much darker skin tone. With a nice reddish tinge to it. And then you clean away the parts that you need to be highlighted. And basically just go back and forth. It's a skin tone. So I painted a much more ruddy, better skin tone than I normally do here. Super small highlights. Just blend that. Teeny bit of chin, under the nose, just above the mouth, and we have a reasonable face. The color, let's get our guts to be a little more interesting. So where are you, my transparent purple? And because transparent purple uses a really dark purple pigment, it really acts as a near black color most of the time. So I very, very rarely use it as a actual purple. I use it as a purple shadow to add the things. And I'm just gonna apply that for the sleeves because they're basically painted really, really soon. A very deep dark purple will look really good, I think. It's nice because it's pretty dark, not overpowering. And because the main color scheme is blue on here, a little bit of the purple, it kind of works out. So let's move a little bit more of the purple on there. So this is how I generally speed paint stuff. Like, just like this. Kind of just toss a bunch of colors on the palette, mix a few of them, and then just use them everywhere. It's pretty haphazard, but it works. So I just mix a little bit of the dark purple with the mahogany, and I'm applying that on the shoe covers, on the boot covers. And that should be all I need to do for them. Beyond maybe highlighting the shoelaces. So what I like about this painting method is that by doing this, you can kind of get pretty close to a decent result on most things. And then you can kind of zoom in and focus on the things that are most important to you, that you want to look good. So you don't have to spend like 1,000 years highlighting parts of the miniature that you hate. You can do that if I'm not going to stop you, but you can get to a good enough state for most of the meaning. And then work on doing the parts that you want to look pretty good. And there is no shortcut to making something look really good because the main way you do that is by adding texture and by highlighting it up so that your eye focuses on it. The only shortcut that you have is just going brighter or darker, you know, or underpainting some texture in so that it has spent less work doing individual highlights. But even so, if you want a mini to look really good, or you want a part of mini to look really good, you have to spend the time. You have to do the work. Like, there are lots of ways for you to get things to look good enough. And as you get better at painting, you're gonna find you're gonna need less and less time to get things to look good enough. But if you want something to look super, super good, there really is no way except for practice and time. Also, I totally painted this guard with red gloves so that it can catch thieves red-handed. I'm so smart. Praise me. Actually, I'll just set up no being stopped. Okay, so getting a little bit of my bright ivory. I'm gonna quickly dot the eyes with white. They look a little spooky now. But that's okay. I know, right? I am so funny. I should have my own TV show. A little bit of that mahogany brown. I think that the area in the eye needs a little more definition on this side. A bit of lining. Let's quickly line that area. Yep. That helps though. Right, this side too. Trick that I do is that I try and use similar colors throughout the miniature for similar materials. So if I'm painting the leather belt right now, I'm using similar colors. I'm using the same color to paint all the leather belt portions. But if I want to differentiate them a little bit, I might mix in some other random colors in my palette, like maybe a little bit of purple, a little bit of red, so you can get red leather gloves. Or maybe I just need more of the grey showing through. You guys did not appreciate my genius, and that's okay. That's the fate of every genius, to be unrecognized. Mix a little bit of bright ivory in with this mahogany and boom, different color. I'm not at all too lazy to take more colors off the palette. Let's put more colors on the palette. That makes sense in my head. It's a little too brightly colored. Let's dull it down. Transparent blue dye. Applied messily. And now bright warm gray, hitting the rivets, hitting the buckle. Because non-metallic metal is easy, I say. Actually, it's more like I need to practice, so. Teeny tiny dots. Here you go. One dot. There was water that went down my brush. This is a good tip. When you wash your brush, remember to make sure that there is no water remaining on the brush itself. It ruins your day. Stretch. Oh god. Yeah, I really should stretch. Okay. Uno momento. No, wait. Un momento. Oh, you know? Shoto momento. That was terrible. Let's never do that again. Stretch. Okay. I can feel my shoulders now, guys. Good news. Oh, okay, I felt that crack. So, speed painter got looking okay. Could use a little bit of highlight on the face, I guess. I'm looking at it under super bright light so I can see all my mistakes. It's wonderful. I hate it. A little bit. So a little bit of the reddish brown. Got the gloss here. Right. Mistake number 1. Mistake number 2. Just paint the underside of things. I say, hey John, I'm glad you could join us. Working on the stuff that you sculpted. And just those 45 minutes are fast. Not my fault. You cannot affect the speed of time. But an easy one is making time feel like it's passing really slowly. And that's something that every teacher can do. Very easily, in fact. Just need to start lecturing in class. Kinda feels like that's leather armor. Maybe some metal plates, so I will go in search of others to let me cheat more. Hello, transparent brown. How fast can I go on this, like, super sketching guide? I wonder. Let's find out. Transparent brown, transparent brown. Then down. Test it. Where? It's fine. I'll just highlight it a different color later. I really like this particular mercenary because he has a lot of interesting detail for unimportant NPC, because it's always important that your NPCs that are gonna die in like 2 hits are really nicely painted. In fact, the more nicely painted they are, the faster they die. That is the #1 rule of DMing. The more time you spend on an encounter, the faster your players will clear it. It's not like you want to kill the characters or anything. Of course you don't. Such a nice DM. Why would you ever do that? Let me think. Let's mix a little bit of blue with a little bit of the transparent purple. Add a lot of water. Like so much water. And apply that to the fabric. Oh yeah, absolutely. If you want your character to live, don't commission really nice art of them. And do not, by any means, deflect yourself by going. You know, it's almost time that my character can retire. I think I'm gonna get a nice picture of them before they retire. Goodbye. That is death. And if you go, hey, you know, I'm not really sure where I want to take my character's story. It feels like I've done everything for them already. But I'm not sure if I want to retire them. Just saying that to your DM tells your DM, hey, help me retire my character permanently by killing them. Seriously. Don't do it, guys. It does not end well. I'm not sure what I should paint the his upper coat that has a fur lining on it. But you know, maybe he likes to be a little more brilliantly dressed. Fantasy is boring when it's all dark colors, so let's give him a great coat. Because he is clearly an NPC that is too nicely painted to survive more than 2 rounds. That's how it works. That's it, knowing how Crimson runs. If he uses this in a fight, there might be casualties. Yeah, for the players that are going to be playing with us this weekend, no, not really, they'll be fine. I'm not so sure about the characters, but the players will be fine. Nice. Crimson. Red. Just layering that over the yeah, Electro is completely fine. He'll be fine. There's nothing to worry about. He hasn't painted his character mini yet. Maybe soon we'll start doing the thing where if you have painted minis on the table, character mini is painted, you start with inspiration. Let's see how fast people paint the minis. Wouldn't that be fun? Okay, so we have the red kind of buffed in really. So I'm taking a bit of that yellow, let's mix a little bit of the ivory and kind of just applying it over the parts. Yes, instead of painting your own mini, you should commission me to paint it for you. Great idea. So clever. I don't know, if you use a paper token as a mini, it makes it easy to just tear out the mini. Laminated, I have scissors. Let's get some nice and easy. A little bit of dehumidifier from inside the palette, inside the pot. Dump it on the palette. And then proceed to apply it all over the hand. So that's one of my favorite colors for painting a fire effect. It's just a little orangey. So you don't have to worry about the core of the fire looking like too cold a yellow. Because cold yellow looks a little greenish. And that can be a bit weird sometimes. Okay. So even without me doing much work, you can kind of see the effect. Of the right. Take that last one. Mix mahogany in. Actually, I should just use a transparent brown. Thin that down. Good enough. And apply that stuff. Apply all of it. I gotta say that I can really kind of see how it's meant to be looking, and it's looking good. Good job, me. Did I not remove that teeny tiny spot? I'm an idiot. It's one at the back of his head. Okay, it's gone now. No, but I have to say that if you are super scared of death in D&D, you're not going to be able to play D&D. Because every game needs you to be able to take on risk. And every adventurer knows that if they are going adventuring, that is something that is risky. They can die, they might die. And stuff happens. So if you think that your character is, you know, the kind that isn't suited for adventuring, then you will need to work with either your DM or your party to make them fit. So I'm not saying don't play a character that's scared to die, but logically speaking, any character that exists in a fantasy world that's adventuring, that's going on to dungeons, that wants the loot, knows that they might die. And a little bit more. Remember, if you're scared of dying, you should always keep in mind Bazel's favorite thing to sing. And what is it? Wise words to live by. Huh. Okay, he kind of looks like Santa. Kind of looks like Santa. With like the red coat and the like the grey fur lining it. See? You know it in your heart. It is your battle cry. Quickly do a little bit, a little tiny bit of highlighting at the back. Told you, don't skip. Important words in that. Of course, that means that you also do not get your party killed by being stupid. There is a difference between not being scared and being foolhardy. And that difference is normally just an initiative for me. What do you guys think? Can you see like the OSL effect? Like, is it pretty clear that it's meant to be light falling on the rest of the mini. I think we just a little bit more work, especially in the face. So it's kind of a little weird to be highlighting in reverse. A bit upside down. Okay, there we go. And hi Carl, can you not see the mini? Is there something wrong with the mini? Can you guys see it okay? Or was it just out of focus for that brief moment? I see. I guess while I was moving stuff around it hadn't completely focused. Yes, I've not been testing paint to my nails this well. Now for the interesting part. So you see what I did? I just applied a little bit of that transparent orange that I mixed over the hair fire and wiped it away at the bottom of the top part of glass, at the top of the bottom pane of glass. Because that's where the candle is going to be. And I have at least 10 more minutes, so I think I can get quite close to finishing this guy and do my best, very best, that no one ever was. You can't see the lantern blue, kinda. I just put so mostly that be, but I can't help but use little black to clean up the edge where the paints kind of overlapped. And it's a little strange. I just had that earlier on. It was good. I'm not sure what hair color I want this guard to have, but since he looks a little on the older side, let's give him gray eyebrows. He's not a guard, he's a merc. Same difference. I also forgot to paint the ears. So good tip, if you are painting a face and you're painting all your skin tones on nature, do not forget to check for ears. Seriously. Those are what always gets me. I use more of that transparent brown because I have it in the palette. It's too good to not use it. And it's easy. Go for the easy wins, guys. Like your mom. Anyway. I'll use that same transparent brown on the gloves because I think it makes sense to match the leather cap. And you know, your equipment set should match. I was not sure wearing a completely mismatched equipment set, really. That goes against like the code or something. I mean, even if they do that, right? At least in the MMOs, they tend to design gear sets to look decent, so that you have this like one whole armor set. Like the chest piece is also like not terrible. Like, come on. Yeah, fashion police. Look, can you even reach end game without even like doing your transmorphs and everything? Like, everyone knows the true gaming end game is spending all that time making your outfit look good. Come on. If you play Warframe, you know the true end game is fashion frame. Wait, out for this. Stop it. A bit of that transparent purple, mixing with that transparent brown, and that will be the feet. That will be the boots. A little too much of that on the paintbrush, so I'll just use it for both sides. Okay, so that's me painting the boots. Guys, I have not painted the pants yet. I will have it match the darker purple that I use in the shirt. Because unlike your complete cadence, this is a mercenary who saved his money to buy a matching set of pants and shirt. Alright, he would save money just to buy one so that his mom could make him a matching pair of PJs. He wears it everywhere he goes. I don't care. That's a story I'm sticking to. And he's just trying to save enough money that he can take care of his family. So they can all live happily on his earnings. And it'd be such a shame if he was to die out of nowhere to a bunch of adventurers. But why would that happen? Like, come on, just look at him, you know? He's carrying his entire life's belongings, so most of them, in his bag. So, you know, he clearly has no place to stay. He's doing his best to save money. He's gonna be camping out in the wilderness, in a tent, or just bedroom. So he can just save that extra bit of copper to bring back home. What a great NPC. Would be a shame if anything happened to him. Oh, you're terrible, you're mean. It's just mean. I mean, knowing our Eberron characters, we might really be the reason he dies. As for which Eberron characters, yes, all of them. Apply more of that. A bit shading. To the groups. Okay. Doesn't look as bad now. And a little bit of ivory, a little bit of red, a little slight highlight. Oops, that's not slight. A little bit of yellow to the fade. Get some orange. I think it's good enough. And kind of add that transparent color on this side of his. So they get a little bit more of the color in his face. Can spend a bit of time blending that bit. better. A couple of things that I missed and want to quickly work on is beyond accidentally painted the backpack strap the same color as the leather and that's okay, but I want to make sure that it kind of stands out a bit, so I am currently doing a little bit of lighting to differentiate it from the other parts that I've been painting. I haven't really touched his back yet, but it's not important. Pretty much calling done for now. When you want to see Crimson painting a mini, do you guys really want to see that? You guys really want to see that? So we've had people ask about it before. Like all the time, you know, people go, "Oh wow, so Crimson does like the DMing and the painting, right?" And we're just like, "Ha, ha, oh, you're funny." I'm like, wow, you know, you must be really good at so many things for you to be able to, you know, do all this thing like DMing, painting, and all, and run games. And every single time we're just like, haha, you are funny. Great joke, big joke. Oh, hey, Enric. Thanks for tuning in and thanks for the follow. I see you, Spidey talking. And listen to me make fun of Crimson. Which is like kind of like half of the cost. Yeah, he was like, no, I'm the mascot. And I'm like, oh, but then what if you're the mascot then? How? Why paint? Then you buy all this stuff? I wish. It's like, come on. Why would I pay money to buy this stuff when I can spend more money and more time doing it myself? Don't you know what a hobby is? Okay. More highlights, yes, more highlights. Yes. That was chunkier than I was supposed to, but whatever. We are way past time. It's like 5 minutes at most. Good. Like, I mean, if with what the people want is for you to pay, you should give the people what they want. Desire. Look at this silly ass work. Running around with a health potion on his backpack for easy access, of course. Now the problem is when easy access also applies to the adventurers who just really want a health potion. And as we know, an adventurers is something they want, chances are that they will try and take it. I mean, sorry mate, but it does seem like we do have some interest in you doing some painting. And in fact, I have the perfect miniature for him to paint. It's just that Vazel is not done sculpting it. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about, right? It's that thing. I have no what I'm doing here. I'm not just casually painting a glass bottle. I'll paint glass bottle. Puzzle. Yeah, see, all of you know exactly what I'm talking about, and we all agree that it'd be great to see it being painted, right? Use that for the bag as well. And because I mixed in some of the blue, it kind of looks like this really nice dark saturated green. It kind of looks great. I mean, I really want to see that miniature too. It'd be really fun. I'm sure to watch Crimson try and paint it. Zoom in. Focus. Focus. Not on my wet palette. Come on. Come on. Focus. Is my like is my random PV purple paint in the background that interesting? Right now. I'm gonna see the potion bottle. So I think that I to go and clean that up. This was a little messy painted. And I'm still not really good at painting glass. I don't know where to paint the reflex highlights. I think that there should be like a line of highlights going across. Paint that as a line, you know. I'm not sure how well this is gonna work. So yeah, to me, I should maybe use a slightly more precise brush for this. Gumber season. This camera's been very mean, and if it continues being so mean, I will one day yeet it out the window. I think I got just a little bit of the shading on the other side. Don't know if it's really good enough, but whatever. It's an unimportant NPC. I do not need to spend time painting in glass effects on his like health potion on his back, right? You don't need to do that. Why would anyone do that? I would. Quickly highlights. But I should really try and finish up here, if not, Crim's just gonna be whiny about going for time, so on and so forth. But I think we're making great progress done today, to be honest. Like, look, it's not just this one mini, we pretty much did most of the work on like 3 other minis, which means that it's a lot faster for me to just get them finished up. Maybe like an hour work total. That's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. In fact, the only thing I'm missing on his face is I need to kind of finish painting up a little bit of highlight and shadow on the black sap, and I need to paint in the eyes. The eyes are definitely the thing. Would have thought that faces had eyes. Also, that was my fault for not wiping off the ivory. And it's kind of flooded that area a little bit. Terrible. Go back to it again. So what happens when you get careless? Okay, now's the hard part, like kind of painting this one when he is like so hard to see. Like, why are your eyes so sunken, old man? If the sculptor is still here, I'd like to file a complaint. Damn it, John. Okay, so I've kind of just roughed in a little bit of the eye whites. I'm gonna leave it be for now. That time, I'll probably go in with a really more precise brush, clean up that all the color that I need to fill in there. Grab a little bit of a little bit of this color. Just quickly roughing in a little bit of cast light on his feet, and this is not gonna be the final light that you see. It's a little bright right now. That's okay because when we add in the other colors for the other parts, they are all gonna be bleed up. So I'm kind of drawing a line between the light and his feet and just a little shadow. So you kind of can see his cast shadow. If you don't think he looks cool, then you're wrong. That's okay. You can still learn. A teeny bit of that brown. Just apply it. Like this. It should get more lighting here. So it feels like he's holding his lantern up just because it's in front of him. There should definitely be a little bit more lighting around the sides of the lantern. And behind him, you definitely want to see more of his shadows. I think this is pretty good. So cast shadow. And I want it super dark, super dark shadow. There he comes. Now remember, this is a completely unimportant NPC who would likely die. This is why we spent so much time painting him. Sounds pretty good. Let's have a quick look around him. So this whoa, mercenary, just out to earn a living, about to get ganged by adventurers. I'm sure he'll get better. Are we raiding anyone? You guys found anyone that you think we should raid? What do you think? Do we have any options out there? Do we have friends who are streaming right now? Let me check. Okay, I actually have a friend that's streaming right now, and she is also streaming miniature painting. So can we set up a raid for her? Liquid underscore nebula. So let's get the raid going. And first of all, thanks everyone for joining me tonight. We're not just showing up and lurking. watching me shitpost terribly. I'm glad that you were here. So even if I had to head up earlier, that's okay. It was nice having you here. Now come and stay a longer time next time. And in this really short period of time, got quite a bit of stuff done. Got that one mini done. A bit of work on the other minis as well. Testing out techniques. Right, so this whole set of munitions, and they're all gonna be painted up as, like, I guess, friends or foes. And that's really not too bad for a bit under 3 hours of paint work. In fact, I would say that's pretty damn good. So if you were painting along with me and you feel like you haven't done as much as I have, that's okay, that's perfectly normal. You haven't. But also, you know, it's okay not to rush while you're painting, and if you're having fun with what you're painting, that's the most important thing. Is it not working? Okay. One moment. Was I wrong? Did I check wrongly? No, it is that liquid everything. Alright, so the raid is ready. We're ready to go. And I'm gonna go over to her and tell her that I said hi. Tell her that Jazion said hi. And as always, have a good night, everyone, and I'll see you around next week.